everybody. Welcome to the Magic Behind the Ukrainian Actors. Today, we have a warm welcome for Hugh Henley. I hope I pronounce it correct.
Correct. Yeah.
um, we are happy that you are here today. Um, yeah,
I'm thrilled to be here. So yeah, welcome.
yeah, thank you. Before we start with everything, I would like that maybe you introduce yourself to the audience because many people saw you already in the Ukrainian verticals at many movies, but maybe you say something for yourself. It's up to you what.
Sure, sure. Well, firstly, Bianca, it's a real pleasure that someone outside of Ukraine is such a fan of what we're doing here. My name's Hugh. I'm actually an Anglo-New Zealand actor. I can define that for you. I'm a first generation New Zealander with my background as British, my mother and father English, which was quite normal when I was born. My parents, both parents, emigrated with their families when they were young. Sorry, my mother did, and my father came out later to New Zealand, and I was born in Auckland. And I moved to England in my early 20s. And I suppose I always considered myself English, as you would be if you're German and you found yourself growing up in Australia. You might feel you're more German. You know, this is your background, your heritage.
Yeah.
And so I found my way back to England, and eventually I changed direction, and I took a teaching course and ended up in Poland. And I was there for some 15 years, not teaching, but I taught there for a couple of years. And then, well, we can talk about acting a little bit later on. So I came to Kyiv. I now live in Kyiv, the capital of the free world. And I've been here for almost 2 years now. So working for mostly for one production company, Ammo,
Hmm.
and doing verticals and doing standard. And I'm lucky enough I will be in a feature film in a few months' time. Well, shooting at the end of June, actually. So I'm quite excited.
Yeah, I bet, I bet. So that means you moved to the Ukraine while the war already started, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah, a little crazy. Um, I had decided my brother's wife is from Kharkiv, and I was at his wedding in Kharkiv in November 2021, and at that point I had already decided to move to Kyiv. The fact that I now have family who are Ukrainian wasn't part of my decision. Because living next to Ukraine for so many years, 15, 17 years, I
Yeah.
was in Poland. I was already very familiar with Ukraine and pretty familiar with its culture. It just so happened that my brother found someone, fell in love, and it's great that I have a Ukrainian family. So I had decided to move to Ukraine in January 2022. But I was following the news and the events, and despite my best friend who lives in Kyiv, who is German actually, he said, "Oh, Hugh, no, nothing will happen. Nothing will happen." I said, "No, no, Carl, it will happen. There's going to be war." So it sounds like I was really close to moving here as soon as, and the war starting at the same time, but it wasn't really like that. I'm fairly sensible, and I just delayed my movement and decided to wait a few months. And then, of course, the war started, and it would be crazy to move in the early months of the war. But after, I'm a very political person, and after a year and a half of the war, I decided I'm going to move anyway. And at that point, I had already worked for about a year for the Ukrainian film production company, because they moved most of their production to Poland. So my agent phoned me up, my Polish agent, and said, "Oh, Hugh, we have some YouTube stuff. It's just small stuff if you're interested." And I was like, "Sure. I'm an actor. I would love to work with a Ukrainian company." And I started working there, and I investigated, and I decided when they move back here, I will come as well. So so that was September, Bianca. That was September. Just a second, 23, September 23.
So
So yeah,
the YouTube movies you shooted were for DramatizeMe and LoveBusters, I assume?
yeah. DramatizeMe and LoveBusters. Mostly DramatizeMe. My first leads with that channel. Sorry, with Ammo worked with DramatizeMe. And it was good experience. Yeah.
And I can tell you, the audience worldwide love those movies. I mean, we call it mini movies because they are only have the length of 10 to 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And they tell a whole story. And there are a lot of mini movies online. So I must admit, we have on our Discord channel the filmographies of you actors. And unfortunately, I don't have listed your mini movies yet because I seen you in a lot of mini movies, but I didn't knew at this time your name. So I couldn't list.
Right.
So I have to rewatch all those movies to find you. But it takes a lot of time because there are many, many, many mini movies. But we also seen you in the verticals. But before we talk about the verticals, how did you became an actor? When did you decide to become an actor? How did it happen?
It's kind of an interesting question, I think. So going back to 2005 when I moved to Poland. I moved to Poland as a teacher of English as a foreign language, and it was fantastic for a couple of years. But then I got a little bit bored, and in middle of 2008, my relationship with my Polish girlfriend had split up as well. So it was kind of like I was looking for a change. So I moved back to England, and I spent some time with my mother as well. My family are in England, my brother and my mother. And I moved back there, and I just decided to change direction. So I studied, I took a course in filmmaking in London, and that was 2008. And the course was great, but it was an introduction to filmmaking. And after I finished the course, I then went back to Warsaw, kind of like a little bit of a loss. Where do I go from here? So I carried on teaching for a short time. But then I thought, I need to do something. Anyway, I went to a party, and it was just being in the right place at the right time. I met a young lady, and at a party we were drinking wine and talking, and she said, I said to her, "What do you do?" And she said, "Oh, I'm an actress." And she said, "What do you do, Hugh?" And I said, "Well, I just finished film school, film studies in London." She said, "Oh, you must come and meet Raphael." I said, "Who's he?" "Oh, he's a film producer." So we had a beer together the next day, and he said, "Do you want to work for me as a film producer?" I was like, "Yes, Raphael." So yeah. So the day after, I went to the office. He said, "Hugh, this is your desk. These are scripts." And I looked at the pile. It was like this.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah. He said, "Look through the scripts, see if anything is interesting for you, and we should invest in these movies." So, they were involved in international co-productions. So I was working as a film producer, and of course our clients were directors and production houses. And one of the clients was a director, and he said, Hugh, can you help my wife? Or, yeah, my wife. They were just married with English. I said, yeah, it will be a pleasure. And at that time, she was breaking out as an actress. Her name is Joanna Kulik. And suddenly she became pretty famous. And she's the leading actress in Cold War, Pavel Pawlikowski's Oscar-nominated film.
Wow.
And I was working with Joanna a lot to help her with self-tapes and self-tapes, English dialogue. She's also a singer, so I was helping her with interpreting lyrics and pronunciation, and we became good friends. And then she just said, Hugh, she talks like this, Hugh, you are quite a good actor. You should think about acting. And I'm like, oh, Asha, it's a short form of Joanna. I said, Asha, come on. She said, yeah. Anyway, so I did. I got an agent who was in the same building as her agent, and then I started to get work. And yeah, and the rest is history.
But a good history.
Well, the best is yet to come, I hope, And look, I just, it's quite strange because when you change direction, especially when you are involved in creative work, there's a moment in your life where you think, am I really an actor? Because you never quite feel like you are an actor. I suppose you're always learning. But then I realized that I pay my rent with my acting money. So
See?
I must be an actor.
See?
Yeah. So
No.
so that's how it happened. And then I naturally moved to Ukraine because there are not I was already working with the company in Warsaw. And yeah, I had no doubts about moving here. Yeah, I was a little nervous, but we've had some bad nights. So really, Bianca, it's been bad.
I guess.
Yeah, as you can see, my eyes, I haven't slept so much, but yeah. So that's how I got into it.
I mean, you could, as a someone from New Zealand slash England, you could always leave the Ukraine because of the situation which is there. How come that you stay in the Ukraine?
Well, I think that's a really good question because a lot of people, a lot of Ukrainian people, just literally say to me, "Hugh, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here."
Yeah.
And as we said in the preamble before we went online, I'm a very political person. I've been political since I was a young age, and I'm obviously not a soldier. And people say, well, if you're political, go in the front line. I mean, that's just bloody stupid. They're ignorant. But I was aware that just being here as a foreigner, especially coming while we're being bombed, is quite a political statement. It's a statement of solidarity.
Yeah.
When the house is burning down and everyone's jumping out, and you jump in to be with the people who are in the flames. Yeah, I believe it's a strong statement. So there was no doubt about me coming, and there's no doubt about me leaving. I would not leave. I mean, the other night, thank God, Bianca, you don't know much about drones and being bombed, but we all have apps on our phones. And we also have air raid sirens very close to the buildings where we live. And 3 or 4 times a day, they will go off. And then as soon as you hear them, you will get a warning on your phone, a pop-up warning and a siren on your phone. You can then check the Telegram thread which gives information about what the threat is. Now, if it's a drone threat, you just read it. Drones are 5 drones are approaching Kyiv, or 3 drones have left Odessa, or 6 drones in Sumy. But with ballistic missiles, you literally have the air raid siren, the pop-up notification, and boom. It's literally seconds. You have, it was the other night, I had 8 seconds warning. That's it. You have no warning with the ballistic missiles. So to go back to your question, and it is a good question, when you come here, and I'm not fighting, but I'm here as a foreign presence, as a foreigner, and I'm saying, you are being bombed, and I'm happy to stand with you as a Brit, as an Englishman, as a New Zealander, as someone who believes in democracy and freedom. So, yeah. And we're fighting fascism. We're fighting fascist invaders. As my grandfather, as many people generations back were doing the same. Yeah. And in fact, we've celebrated Victory Day the other day over Nazi Germany. And there's no difference, Bianca. There's no difference. Putin is Hitler. Russia is Nazi Russia. I refer to Russia as Nazi Russia. There is no difference. They are fascist. Their crimes are exactly as Nazi Germany perpetrated: genocide, torture, rape, destroying lives, killing children, innocent people. It's fascism. It's imperialism. Yeah, I'm sorry to talk politics, but I live in Kyiv. Politics is here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I must admit I'm not that much in politics, but I can imagine no, I can't imagine how you guys are feeling, and I wish we could help much more, but it's not really possible. And that's why if we hear some days nothing from our favorite actors and actresses online. Yeah, with all the other actors worldwide, we know, okay, they are busy. It's fine. But if you guys from the Ukraine don't post anything in a few days, we are already worried about if you are okay, if something happened. I mean, yeah, you are busy too because you are still working. The show must go on. And that's what I admire. You are such in danger, but you still go on like nothing happened actually. And that's really impressive actually that you are able to do that. Um, yeah, and I hope that this gonna end soon. I
Well,
mean, regarding those sirens, for example, here in Germany, we hear it just once a year because in March, I guess the second Wednesday in March, we
yeah.
have like a practice day where they try out those sirens. And we get a message too, but it's already said, hey, it's just a test. So in whole Germany, you hear the siren at once, but it's just a test. And thanks God, we only hear it once a year.
Yeah, I mean, well, I hear it three times a day, 3 times at night. Yeah, but yeah, midnight comes, I will be making a coffee, and you think, oh, there should be a siren soon. And yeah, we get another air raid. But you get, I've literally been on set, waiting in the green room, and there's an air raid happening. But you just carry on. It becomes very, very normal. But I was saying to you previously, I have been on set where one of the crew said, "Oh, maybe we need to go to the shelter because there was an air raid siren," and the director just said, "Well, you know where it is." We carried on shooting. Now, that seems a horrible thing to say, but there are also practical things. we weren't outside. We were in a huge building, and you get to know the threat. And honestly, it happens all the time. You can't keep stopping. You have to keep going,
Yeah.
because really we can have six air raid sirens a day, even more. So you check your app, and you're aware. You don't take stupid risks, but you're aware. And I've been out feeding the cats. I feed some stray cats, and there's been literally overhead drones overhead. And I've thought, oh, this doesn't look good. So I've just stood in the doorway, and there's been flak, and you can see the tracer of the bullets in the sky, and the drones, and yeah, there's a dogfight. There's a fight going on above my head. Yeah, but the cats need to be fed.
That's so
They're
amazing.
hungry.
Yeah,
They're
that's so
hungry.
amazing. That's why we postponed our interview a few days ago, because you had
Yeah,
to take care of a
yeah,
small little cat who's pregnant,
yeah,
and you
yeah,
need to find a new home for it to give birth.
yeah, yeah. Well, I was actually, yeah, cats are my heart and soul, and I have a new mother in the bedroom. I had been feeding her for a year and a half, and then I noticed she was pregnant, and it really worried me. It concerned me because she lived in a dirty cellar, which I can't get to. I can only give her food through the window, and she comes out of the window onto the footpath and sees me. And we were good friends. And one day I thought I can't do this anymore. I need to help her. So I snatched her. I took her to the vet. The vet scanned her. The vet said she's going to give birth soon, and I said, how long? And she said, about a week. Took her home to my apartment and took her into the bedroom. 2 days later, 5 kittens came.
So, congratulations to become
Thank you.
a kitten granddad.
A kitten granddad, yeah, but there's a little twist as well, because I was also feeding 2 kittens, black kittens. In winter they came. There were 5 of them. Only 2 left. I don't know where the other 3 disappeared to. And I noticed one of them, and they are super young, maybe a year old. One of them's pregnant, and I had to do something. So yesterday I snatched her, and a lovely lady called Helen took her, and she will
Great.
take, yeah, well, she will take her to the vet. But I need to get the brother because they are twins, and I don't
Yeah.
want her to be alone. But she fought. I got bitten pretty badly yesterday, and scratched. There was a lot of blood, but yeah,
It was worth it, huh?
yeah, I hope so, because today she will be scanned, and yeah,
Yeah, if she come down and settle down, she won't be like that no more. I
yeah,
guess you figure out you're gonna help her, it's all fine.
yeah, yeah.
No, thank you for helping those animals.
No,
Yeah, that's
they are
actually
my soul. Cats are my soul. You know.
yeah. But go back to your career.
Yeah,
Um, do you speak actually Ukrainian?
I speak a little. I learn every day using an app, and like I said, I'm political. I think it's your duty. If I move to Germany, I would absolutely make the
Yeah,
effort to speak German.
at
And
least
I
the
think,
basics.
yeah, and I think, look, people all around the world have a great deal of respect for people who try to learn the language.
Yeah,
And actually, it this goes back to the days of COVID. I was thinking of moving to Ukraine, and then after COVID happened, I moved to another. Moved into the country, literally next to a lake, and I was outside with my app because I had decided to move to Ukraine.
yeah.
This was before, just a few months before I decided to complete the move, and I was outside with my app and I was learning Russian. because I'm a practical guy. You know, Russian is spoken in all of the former Soviet states, and most people speak both languages here. And then I still remember it very clearly. It was a sunny day. I was outside with my cats, and I just thought, I can't learn the language of the occupying imperialist army. I can't learn Russian. It might be more practical, but I thought, I can't do this. So then I started learning Ukrainian. So I speak a little. Don't ask me to speak anything, Bianca, please.
I won't, because I started to learn Ukrainian too. And in
Oh,
one interview which I had before, Artur Ignatenko asked me to speak a little bit Ukrainian. I said,
no.
don't have something in front of me, I can't say anything.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just
So,
started it. So it's pretty hard though.
yeah,
So don't worry. But let's talk about the four verticals which I found you in.
yeah, yeah,
That's a short overview. You had a role in Love Captive to the Mafia Boss. You
yeah,
played business partner of Hayden.
yeah.
So it was just a small role actually, but yeah, you been there. You didn't really had a name in there, a role name. So I assumed you were just a business partner of Hayden Torix, which
Yeah.
was played by Bogdan Ruban,
Hmm.
and you met on a birthday party there.
Hmm.
The second movie I saw you in, it's Made Mine.
Hmm.
You played a sheriff, which been actually from begin on really negative or had a negative behavior towards Maya and Ronan. But more to the end, you figured out you got self-blackmailed and you figured out that something was wrong. And so the sides switched again. So you've been more
I,
on.
I've not actually watched that one. How was it?
It was good.
It was
It
good.
was
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of fun shooting that. I do remember it was great weather. You know, it was just one of those days, and it was kind of a fun character. You know,
Yeah.
um, was I wearing the big cowboy hat? I
Yep.
can't remember. Yeah, yeah, I remember now. And we had this. Yeah, I remember. I had the full cowboy hat, and I got to do this southern accent. What are you boys doing there?
Yeah.
This sort of thing, and that's kind of fun. It's kind of fun because when you're doing a lot of the work, the novellas, the verticals, DramatizeMe, LoveBusters, a lot of it is in some way melodrama, caricature, a little bit of parody, because you only have a few seconds on screen. So
Yeah.
if you get your role and you're the sheriff, you don't have time to be subtle.
Yeah.
You might have two or three scenes, and the audience needs to go, he's a sheriff. This
Yeah.
is how sheriffs behave. In a way, a lot of the characters are two-dimensional. Now, that's okay, because what we're doing is short, sharp entertainment.
Yeah.
And, when the sheriff walks on set, he's got to be a sheriff.
Yeah.
He's got to behave like a sheriff. And it's kind of cool. I really enjoyed that role. I was with Irakli, I recall.
Yeah.
Really good actor. Really good actor. And yeah, we had fun. And also my patrol car was a real ex-US
Yeah.
patrol
You
car.
you saw that's actually an American car. Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. So I enjoyed that role very much. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah. The next movie is The Mafia Boss. You played one of the mafia bosses who had to vote their Don.
Hmm.
And I have to think
Was
of,
I wearing was I wearing a white suit in
yes,
that? Yeah,
yes.
yeah, I remember. Yep.
It
Hmm.
was with Daniel Salem. It was with Alexandra Pankova and
Yep.
Alexandra Soroka.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. you played there one of the mafia bosses who had to choose who become their don.
Yeah.
I'm not really going into the storylines of the movies because everyone who want to see those movies, they should watch it and don't get the resume review of me. Um, and the fourth vertical which we saw of you is sold to the possessive mafia boss.
Yeah.
In a funny way, your role name was Hugh.
Yeah.
You being the butler of Xavier, and you made actually a really, really good job because most of the time you being nonverbal,
Hmm.
but you told a whole story in your nonverbal role.
Yeah.
You only said something if it was necessary, and you being really loyal to your boss, and it was actually really, really good.
Oh, thank you very much. You know,
You-
it's a small role, but again, if you're the characters in what we do are fairly clear. You're a
Yeah,
butler. You know, you're a butler. You keep your mouth shut.
yeah,
You don't talk unless you don't speak unless you're spoken to,
yeah.
and that's kind of cool. I also have slightly different ideas of butlers. You know, I always think a lot of the best butlers are perhaps a little bit confused sexually, shall we say? So it's kind of nice if you camp if you camp it up a little bit. When we say camp, it means gay. You know, someone who's camp has gay mannerisms. You know,
Yep.
you've got people who are gay, and you would never guess.
Yeah.
You've got other people um, who are just outrageously gay, and
And that's good.
I, yeah, I kind of like. I mean, I'm a straight guy, but I'm a political guy, as I said, and I have many gay friends, and I'm very for LGBTQ plus community and their recognition to be treated equally. And but it's funny, a lot of my favorite actors were gay, are gay, and a lot of my favorite characters were gay. I mean, one of my favorite films of all time is With Nail and I, possibly the greatest British comedy. Every line is a
Can
masterpiece.
can you please repeat the name because I didn't understood it correct?
Yeah, with nail, like with, I am with you.
Yeah,
Nail, like your fingernails. It's one word, with nail
with
and
name.
I.
Okay, I
Yeah,
never heard of
it
it.
was it was Richard E. Grant's uh, feature film debut.
Okay.
He's fantastic. But Uncle Monty, who is this overweight, incredibly gay, old-fashioned public school. When we say public school, we mean private school in England.
Yeah.
Private school, ex-actor, ex-theatre, and every line he speaks, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah,
He would say,
I have to search for this movie because I never heard of it before.
it's every line is comic genius, but his character is incredibly gay and funny, and I kind of like, if I can, just to insert a little bit of campness into some of the roles I play.
Yeah.
Um, the butler role. I think I was opening the curtains in one scene,
Yeah.
and I was shaking my ass a little
I
bit
have to take a look.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I I did that deliberately a little bit as I opened the curtains. I really did it a little bit camp, and they were laughing. The crew were laughing because I did it almost pantomime, and then I thought, oh, maybe it's too much. Maybe I've gone a bit too far. And I turned to the director, and he was laughing, and I said, "Oh, was it too much?" He said, "No, no, no, that was perfect." So it's kind of cool to keep things like that in
But
sometimes.
it's cool to see that you can improvise sometimes in your roles. Just
Yeah,
a,
I mean that. Yeah, well, I don't think I'm perhaps letting too much of the secrets, giving too much of the secrets away. But there are certain times you have to stay to the script,
yeah.
and these are reasons. These are production reasons. We have clients, you
Yeah,
know. They,
sure.
yeah, and therefore the client has okayed a certain storyline, and that means he's okay, that they have okayed the script, which means they want these words.
Hmm.
Now, um, that can be a pain in the ass, to be honest.
I bet.
Yeah. Look, I'm a native speaker. I am given lines quite often not written by native speakers. And I have my own ways of doing them. Um, and honestly, most of the time I have the freedom to do the lines the way I want. But there are occasions where you don't. You
Mm.
have to stick to what is written. That's okay. But sometimes I find out at the last moment, and I've already made my changes.
Yep.
You know,
Too bad.
I changed 3 scenes before, and I thought I was cool. I thought I was cool. I'm going on to set. I've got these new cool, edgy dialogue. You know, these lines, and I started them, and the director said, "Hugh, what? Stick to the script." Oh, okay. So, yeah.
Next time.
Yeah.
As you could see, Hugh and I get along very well in the interview, so we decided to make a second part of it, and you can be curious how it's going on. So stay tuned.